Hello and welcome to Study with Sudhir. Today we are going to take a look at the first chapter of the Snapshots, which is the supplementary reader part of the CBSE Class 11 syllabus. The Summer of the Beautiful White Horse, written by William Saroyan, is the story essentially of two young boys, two cousins, Morad and Aram. They are two poor Armenian boys who are very fond of riding horses. But then there is the larger aspect of the reputation for honesty of the family, the Garoghlanian, that's how it is pronounced. I checked it on YouTube right now. Garoghlanian tribe is famous for its honesty and trust, and that is what is the overlying theme of this particular story, right? The story is about how Morad, who is the elder of the two cousins, 13-year-old, the other one is 9-year-old, and he's also the narrator. So Morad has actually stolen a beautiful white horse in order to ride. And then one fine morning, in fact, early morning, he shows the horse to Aram, who is also very excited, but then he's caught in this whole dilemma कि कहीं चोरी तो नहीं की, that whether he has stolen this horse and whether that is okay or not. But then he also justifies the theft of the horse in his own way, which we will go into detail with. And finally, they return the horse so that there is no shame that is brought to their family honor, their family's reputation. That's what the story is all about. It's not a typical adventure story, but it is a story that essentially is almost like छोटे में पढ़ते थे ना moral science वाली कहानियां, उस तरह की story है, because इसका एक moral of the story is there, which you will know at the end of the story. Along with the notes, I have put 17 questions and answers. Okay, ये सारे 17 question and answers को अच्छी तरह से पढ़ लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगी, कोई भी क्वेश्चन आएगा, कैसे भी तोड़ मरोड़ के आएगा, you will be able to tackle that question. ये guarantee है. Okay, the location of the story is in a country called Armenia, which is a country in Europe, but very close to Asia. और अगर आप world map पर देखें, its neighbors are Iran, Georgia, and Turkey. Okay, तो उसके बीच में Armenia आता है, and it's written in first person by Aram, who is the narrator. चलो टेक्स्ट को रखते हैं. टेक्स्ट को मैं स्क्रीन पे रखूंगा ताकि आपको देखने में भी आसानी हो, and you can keep your book also with you at the same time. Okay, shall we get started? Okay, I hope you can see it clearly on the screen. The Summer of the Beautiful White Horse. One day back, there in the good old days when I was 9, मैं summary नहीं करूंगा जैसे काफी लोग करते हैं, मैं सिर्फ आपको कहानी नहीं बताऊंगा कि ये कहानी है, because you should know each and every word, each and every sentence what it means. Okay, तो जब तक पूरी कहानी को पूरी तरह से line by line, word by word ना पढ़ लो, you will not be able to understand or appreciate that. Okay, as I mentioned, there are essentially 4 characters in this particular story. Okay, first one is Aram, who is the 9-year-old narrator with who the story starts. He and his cousin Morad belong to the Garoghlanian. मेरे को हमेशा ध्यान रखना पड़ता है pronunciation का. Okay, which is an Armenian tribe. And he is the narrator of the story. The second character is Morad, who is the 13-year-old cousin of Aram, and he's a very energetic person who knows how to ride a horse, handle a horse, and is supremely confident about himself. Kafi self-confidence hai, and he loves Aram. He's very fond of his cousin and offers him the horse to ride. The third one is John Byro, the farmer to who the horse actually belongs. He is the rightful owner of the horse. Okay, and that has been stolen by Morad, and he's obviously sad over the disappearance of his horse for a month. The fourth character is Uncle Khosrove, a kind of cranky, eccentric kind of a character. He's the uncle of the narrator. He has a short temper and an irritable kind of a nature. Okay, ये हो गए 4 main characters of this particular story. Okay, तो मैं शुरू करता हूँ story को पढ़ना. आप भी ध्यान रखिए, शायद शॉर्ट नोट्स बना सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर आप ये नोट्स बाद में देखेंगे आपको समझ में पूरा आ जाएगा. Okay. One day back there in the good old days when I was 9 and the world was full of every imaginable kind of magnificence. Now the moment, and life was still a delightful and mysterious dream. Now the moment you hear this kind of a line, good old days, right? Good old days when I was 9. it is like a nostalgia for the days gone by. जो समय बीत गया है उसके बारे में there is a bit of a nostalgia. There is a memory of the good old days, that those days were very good. And Aram also feels very happy about those days when the world was full of imaginable kind of magnificence, that everything was very magnificent, beautiful, wonderful, fantastic, superb about the world. And life was still a mysterious and delightful dream. Mysterious matlab chote the, so obviously you don't know much about the world, so everything is a mystery because you are discovering new things. When you start speaking, you discover language, you see things, you see a TV, and then you realize कि remote को दबाने से वहां पर कुछ change होता है. Everything is a discovery, right? So in that sense, it is mystery being unraveled. So for him also, the young boy, it was like that. My cousin Morad, who was considered crazy by everybody who knew him except me. Now he's telling, right in the first paragraph, he's telling about the opinion of the world about his cousin. दुनिया मोराद को किस नजरिए से देखती थी? What did the world think of Morad? He's saying that he was considered crazy by everybody. Crazy means a bit mad. Okay, mad मतलब पागल नहीं, but someone who is extremely energetic, who is really crazy kind of a person. Someone who is hyperactive kind of a person. Okay, a bit like Ranveer Singh. Okay, so who knew him except me came to my house at 4 in the morning. 4 बजे सुबह को Morad comes to Aram's house and woke me up by tapping on the window of my room. So see, the moment you see a window, normally door hota hai, it's a normal see kind of thing. But window pe you can almost imagine the slightly blurred vision in the dark of Morad showing in the window. So there is a sense of mystery. There is a sense of thrill. There is a sense of suspense. At 4 o'clock in the morning, Morad coming and knocking on the window pane, glass window, tuck, 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 kind of a thing. Aram, he said, I jumped out of bed and looked out of the window. I couldn't believe what I saw. It wasn't morning yet, but it was summer, and with daybreak not many minutes around the corner of the world, it was light enough for me to know I was not dreaming. That is, minutes around the corner, matlab daybreak was close. 4 o'clock, obviously, there is early sunrise out there. So it means that sun would come out pretty soon. And he saw something. My cousin Morad was sitting on a beautiful white horse. So he had knocked and then he has gone and sat on the horse. And that is the image that Aram sees. Morad sitting on a beautiful white horse. I stuck my head out of the window and rubbed my eyes. He couldn't believe his eyes. Yes, he said in Armenian, it's a horse. You are not dreaming. Make it quick if you want to ride. So he has come to offer a ride to his cousin Aram. Okay. I knew my cousin Morad enjoyed being alive more than anybody else who had fallen into the world by mistake. The second revelation about Morad, the second opinion about Morad. What is it? That he enjoyed being alive. He enjoyed life. He wanted to do everything which is fun in life, right? More than anyone who had fallen into the world by mistake. It's just a way of speaking. कोई भी दुनिया में mistake से आ गया कहते हैं ना, उस तरह से he's just tried to speak about that. But this was more than I could ever believe, that he knew he was kind of enjoyed being alive and enjoy life, but this was more than what he could ever have imagined. In the first place, my earliest memories had been memories of horses, and my first longings had been longings to ride. Now he's telling something about himself. What is he telling? That he always loved horses. His memories of horses means that somebody in the family may have had a horse, so there is some kind of a memory he has of a horse. Okay. And my first longings had been the longings to ride. That means that he always wanted to ride. So we are getting to know more about the personality of the narrator this time. This was the wonderful part. Ye to ho gayi achhi baat. Now, in the second place, we were poor. Ye to ho gayi achhi baat. Ab buri baat ye hai ki hum gareeb the. Okay, this was the part that would not permit me to believe what I saw. Now, because we were poor, and there is this cousin of mine who's sitting on a magnificent white horse, now I am not able to correlate. Gareeb hai, isko kaise ghoda mil gaya, itna sundar. We were poor, right? We had no money. Our whole tribe was poverty stricken. That is extreme poverty. Every branch of the Garoghlanian family was living in the most amazing and comical poverty in the world. What does this phrase mean? amazing and comical poverty. Comical poverty and amazing poverty means extreme poverty. Okay, extreme poverty. Nobody could understand where we ever got money enough to keep with our food in our bellies, so he's kind of explaining it. How did we manage to stay alive with food in our stomach? Nobody really knew. Okay, not even the old men in our family. Most important of all, we were famous for our honesty. So that is the important line. Isko underline kar lijiye pencil ke saath. We had been famous for our honesty for something like 11 centuries. So he's not talking about some years, he's talking about centuries. Okay, 11 centuries matlab 1100 years. Even when we had been the wealthiest family in what we like to think was the world, we think that this is our world, right? We think of a limited area as the world. So us area mein we were the wealthiest family. Okay, that's what we like to believe. We were proud first, honest next, and after that we believed in right and wrong. None of us would take advantage of anybody in the world, let alone steal. This paragraph is very important. इसको mark कर लीजिए. इसमें से काफी आपको quote करना होगा. You may have to quote a lot from this story. This paragraph is important. Okay, let me move forward. Consequently, even though I could see the horse so magnificent, magnificent is a keyword used for the horse. Even though I could smell it so lovely, even though I could hear it breathing so exciting, I couldn't believe the horse had anything to do with my cousin Morad or with me or with any other members of our family, asleep or awake, for the reasons that he has just explained, that they were so poor that they could not afford. I mean, we did not even know how did we get a food in our stomach, let alone buy a horse, own a horse. And if he could not have bought it, he must have stolen it. This line is important. And I refuse to believe that he had stolen it. So if he had not bought the horse, and he cannot buy the horse because he's poor, so it means that he must have stolen it. But I refuse to believe that he had stolen it because no member of our family could ever be a thief. So he knew Morad could not buy the horse because the tribe, the family was poor. He must have therefore stolen it. But Aram does not want to believe that Morad could have stolen it. So he thinks so because of the reputation of the tribe that no member of the family could be a thief. समझ में आ गया यहाँ तक? Okay. This paragraph is important, this entire bulk paragraph. I stared first at my cousin and then at the horse. There was a pious stillness and humor in each of them, which on the one hand delighted me, and on the other frightened me. Okay. मैंने पहले अपने कजिन को देखा, फिर घोड़े को देखा. There was a pious stillness and humor. What does it mean? A certain sense of calmness and a certain sense of fun, humor. Okay, because he's also feeling very happy. There is a sense of excitement, a sense of anticipation that he's feeling when he's seeing the two, the horse and the cousin together. Morad, I said, where did you steal the horse? Now you see, the first thing that he mentions is, where did you steal the horse? Where did you get the horse name? Where did you find the horse name? Where did you steal the horse? Leap out of the window, he said, if you want to write. He doesn't answer the question. It was true then. And because he had not answered the question, Aram assumes that he must have stolen the horse. He had stolen the horse. There was no question about it, and had को इसीलिए italics में डाला है for emphasis. There was no question about it कि कोई सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता that he must have got it from somewhere. He must have stolen it. He had come to invite me to ride or not as I chose. So it depends on his choice. Well, it seemed to me that stealing a horse for a ride was not the same thing as stealing something else, such as money. Now he's trying to justify it. And why is he trying to justify it? Because he's also excited and keen to ride the horse. For all I knew, maybe it was not stealing at all. So he says, अगर पैसे चुराए होते तो उसको चोरी बोलते हैं, घोड़े को चुराने को चोरी नहीं बोलते हैं. ये उसका अपना खुद ही wacky kind of a logic hai. Okay, for all I knew, maybe it was not stealing at all. If you were crazy about horses the way my cousin and Morad and I were, it wasn't stealing. So look at his, अभी कल को कोई बोले कि मेरे को पैसे बहुत पसंद है और मैं बैंक लूटूंगा, and then I say that, well, if you were as crazy about money as I am, then it wouldn't be called stealing. That's the kind of logic that Aram is putting out, that if you were crazy about horses the way my cousin and I were, it wasn't stealing. It wouldn't become stealing until we offered to sell the horse and make money from it. That is the justification. इसके ऊपर question आ सकते हैं, मैंने लिखा भी है, so please pay attention. Which of course I knew we would never do. That if we sold it and made money, then it would be called stealing. Stealing for the purpose of making money. But we would never do that, and therefore this cannot be classified or labeled or branded as stealing. So that is Aram's justification. That is Aram's logic. Okay, this can be a possible question. Let me put on some clothes. I said, all right, he said, but hurry. I leaped into my clothes. So leaped, देखो horse के ऊपर leap करते हैं ना, तो उसी तरह का एक sound imagery, or rather, the way he has written it, that's the kind of imagery he has tried to convey. I leaped into my clothes. Otherwise, तुम अपने कपड़े में कूदोगे थोड़ी. That's not the normal phrase that is used. I jumped down to the yard from the window and leaped up onto the horse behind my cousin Morad. So you see, leaped, jumped, all kind of conveying an imagery that is associated with who? With horse riding. Okay, this is important. This is interesting. That year we lived at the edge of the town on Walnut Avenue. Behind our house was the country, vineyards, orchards, irrigation ditches and country roads. So एक तरह से village का atmosphere को describe किया है. Okay, in less than 3 minutes we were on Olive Avenue, and then the horse began to trot. Trot means the way the horse walks, slightly with a bit of a speed. The air was new and lovely to breathe. The feel of the horse running was wonderful. My cousin Morad, who was considered one of the craziest members of our family, once again reinforcing it, began to sing. I mean, he began to roar. That is, his singing is almost like a roar. Okay. Every family has a crazy streak in it somewhere, and my cousin Morad was considered the natural descendant of the crazy streak in our tribe. That he says that, every family has some crazy member, and this fellow is like the crazy guy in our family. He's continued the kind of lineage of craziness in our family, right? Roar matlab singing with a high pitch. Okay. And trot is a sound associated with horses. Also the geographical location which is there, 1 minute, I'll just move it ahead. We lived at the edge of the town. That means you were almost on the outskirts. It also shows us something about their stature and status within that particular countryside. Okay. Now he says, before him was our uncle Khosrove, an enormous man with a powerful head of black hair and the largest mustache in the San Joaquin Valley. A man so furious in temper, so irritable, so impatient that he stopped anyone from talking by roaring. It is no harm, pay no attention to it. So roar, again, in his case, it's been associated with singing, but here it's almost like talking. And it's interesting that dono ke bare mein the same adjective has been used. With this, Aram, the narrator, the author, wants to convey that these two guys are a bit similar because both of them speak or sing in more or less the same kind of a tone. So the word roar, which is common to both Morad and Uncle Khosrove. Okay. Now, the San Joaquin Valley is one of the long interior valleys of California. Okay. I don't know California, whether it's referring to the California and USA, but that's what is written out here. Okay. Now, that was all. No matter what anybody happened to be talking about. Once it was his own son Arak. Now they have kind of uska ek backstory bataya hai, a story about his son running 8 blocks to the barber shop where his father was having his mustache trimmed to tell him that their house was on fire. This man Khosrove sat up in the chair and roared. It is no harm, pay no attention to it. Now this line he keeps on repeating to anyone. The barber said, but the boy says your house is on fire. So Khosrove roared, enough, it is no harm, I say. So even when his house is on fire, he does not react in a logical kind of manner. My cousin Morad was considered the natural descendant of this man. Samjhe? Natural descendant is a key word. Please use it in your answers. Okay, and the reaction to the house on fire is like the element of humor and fun in this particular story. So he says that although Murad's father was Zorab, who was practical and nothing else, that's how it was in our tribe. A man could be the father of his son's flesh, but that did not mean that he was also the father of his spirit. So Morad was considered the natural descendant of who? Not his father, but his uncle Khosrove. Okay. And the son, so Aram says that it's not necessary for a son to be exactly like his father. Okay. And that's what, it could be the flesh could be the same, but the spirit could be entirely different. And the distribution of the various kinds of spirit of our tribe had been from the beginning capricious and vagrant. Capricious means something which is unpredictable. Vagrant means something which is not fixed. Okay, so we rode and my cousin Morad sang for all anybody knew. We were still in the old country where at least according to some of our neighbors we belonged. We let the horse run as long as it felt like running. So some of the neighbors we belonged. So there was as if there was some doubt whether they belonged to the same place. At last, my cousin Morad said, "Get down, I want to ride alone." So usko utar diya. "Will you let me ride alone?" Now Aram wants to ride alone. "That is up to the horse," my cousin said. "Get down. The horse will let me ride," I said. "We shall see," he said. "Don't worry that I have a way with the horse." So he's very confident. This is another interesting and important line. He's very confident. He's very self-confident that he has a way with his horses, with the horse, and he says that about dogs and farmers also later. Well, I said, "Anyway you have with the horse, I have also." So Aram, typical boy talk, ki main bhi kar sakta hu. "For the sake of your safety," he said, "let us hope so. Get down." So if you have a way with horse, it's better so that you will be safe. "All right," I said, "but remember, you got to let me try to ride alone." I got down and my cousin Morad kicked his heels into the horse and shouted, "Wazire, run." Wazire is also means run. The horse stood on its hind legs, snorted and burst into a fury of speed. That was the loveliest, you see the illustration out here, loveliest thing I had ever seen. My cousin Morad raced the horse across a field of dry grass to an irrigation ditch, crossed the ditch on the horse, and 5 minutes later returned dripping wet. Obviously, all that water has fallen on him, or he has fallen off, we don't know, but he has returned 5 minutes later. The sun was now coming up. "Now it's my turn to ride," I said. My cousin Morad got off the horse. "Ride." I leaped to the back of the horse and for a moment knew the most awful fear imaginable. The horse did not move. So the horse just did not move. Okay. I kicked into his muscles. My cousin Morad said, "What are you waiting for? We've got to take him back before everybody in the world is up and about." Up and about means that everybody's awake and coming outside the house and they'll be able to see them. I kicked into the muscles of the horse. Once again, it reared and snorted. Then it began to run. I did not know what to do. Instead of running across the field to the irrigation ditch, the horse ran down the road to the vineyard of Dikran Halibian, where it began to leap over the vines. Vines means jo grape vines वगैरह रहते हैं, vineyard. The horse leaped over 7 vines before I fell. So the horse is not easy to tame. That's what it shows. Earlier, Morad has also come dripping wet. So obviously, even he has not been able to tame the horse, even though he says that I have a way with horses, right? So my cousin came running down the road. "I'm not worried about you," he shouted. "We got to get that horse. You go this way and I'll go this way if you come upon," because the horse is bolted. Bhag gaya hai. Ab inko ladkon ko they have to search for the horse. So I continued down the road and my cousin Morad went across the field towards the irrigation ditch. It took him half an hour to find the horse and bring him back. So half an hour they took in order to locate the horse. "All right," he said, "jump on. The whole world is awake now," because they now need to hide it, right? Because he has stolen the horse, right? He doesn't want anyone else to see. "What will we do?" I said. "Well," he said, "we will either take him back or hide him until, excuse me, hide him until tomorrow morning." He didn't sound worried. So he says, "We need to hide him till tomorrow morning when we can go for another ride." He didn't sound worried, and I knew he would hide him and not take him back, not for a while at any rate. Okay, Aram realized that Morad is pretty confident. "Where will we hide him?" I said. "I know a place." "How long ago did you steal this horse?" So once again, he's asking him about the theft of the horse. It suddenly dawned on me that he had been taking these early morning rides for some time and had come to me this morning only because he knew how much I longed to ride. So that is what Aram is presuming. Ki kafi dino se he has been riding this horse. And today he has come because he knew how much Aram also enjoyed riding a horse. Who said anything about stealing a horse? So now he's addressing the question. "Anyhow," I said, "how long did you begin riding every morning?" "Not until this morning," he said. So Morad is claiming, lying, that आज के दिन ही मैं ride करना शुरू किया. Are you telling the truth? Aram is not convinced. He is not sure that he's telling the truth. Are you telling the truth? Of course not, he said. But if you are found out, that's what you are to say. He says, "No, I'm not saying the truth. लेकिन अगर हम पकड़े गए तो ये झूठ तुमको बोलना पड़ेगा." I don't want both of us to believe. So see, he has a clever mind. This can be another question. Means that he wants Aram to say that we started riding only this morning. So उसे होगा क्या? आरम तो सच बोल रहा होगा, and it will be taken as the truth for both of them. So technically they are not lying, but at least one of them, by Morad, by keeping quiet, he's lying. Aram on his behalf, he will be saying the truth, saying that मैं आज के दिन ही write करना शुरू किया है ना. So that is an interesting. So you realize Morad has a different kind of a mind, a clever kind of a mind. Let me say a more roguish kind of mind, because उसको झूठ बोलना मालूम है. All you know is that we started riding this morning. So he's trying to use Aram as a cover. Okay, all right, I said. He walked the horse quietly to the barn of a deserted vineyard. Now, the barn is where the domestic animals are kept. Okay. I don't want both of us to be liars is an important line. Okay, usko bhi underline kar lijiye. Which at one time had been the pride of a farmer called Fetvejian. There were some oats and dry alfalfa in the barn. Alfalfa is a herb which is used as a fodder for animals. Okay, we began walking home. It wasn't easy, he said, to get the horse to behave so nicely. At first it wanted to run wild, but as I have told you, I have a way with a horse. I can get it to want to do anything I want it to do. Horses understand me. So he's bragging about his own ability to control a horse. Okay, so अगर आपको character sketch की तरह आता है मुराद के बारे में, तो ये सारे aspects आपको लिखने पड़ेंगे. Not just that he claimed that he has a way with horses, he also shows his extreme self-confidence. Okay, and a bit of a bragging kind of a nature. थोड़ा boastful kind of a nature फेंकता है कि मेरे को सब मालूम है. How do you do it? I said, I have an understanding with the horse. Yes, but what sort of an understanding? So Aram is used to asking a lot of questions. If you see till now, Aram काफी सारे प्रश्न पूछता है. A simple and an honest one is the kind of understanding I have with the horse. Well, I said, I wish I knew how to reach an understanding like that with the horse, because Aram को मालूम है कि वो तो गिर गया था. You are still a smart boy. When you get to be 13, you will know how to do it. That you are only 9 years old. But when you become 13 years of age, you will know how to arrive at that kind of a simple understanding with the horse. I went home and ate a hearty breakfast. Okay, that afternoon, my uncle Khosrove came to our house for coffee and cigarettes. He sat in the parlor matlab, I mean the front area kind of a thing, sipping and smoking and remembering the old country. Then another visitor arrived, a farmer named John Byro, an Assyrian, who out of loneliness had learned to speak Armenian. Okay, so he's an outsider. My mother brought the lonely visitor coffee and tobacco, and he rolled a cigarette and sipped and smoked. And then at last, sighing sadly, he said, my white horse, which was stolen last month. This is where you realize that beta Morad, tumne last mahine chori ki thi. Ek mahine se it is missing. Is still gone. I cannot understand it. So now you know two things here. One, the rightful owner of the white horse is a farmer called John Byro, and number two, that it was stolen last month. My uncle Khosrove became very irritated and shouted. He's a crazy guy, right? It's no harm. What's the loss of a horse? Haven't we all lost the homeland? What is this crying over a horse? So suddenly he realizes, so now you know that these people have lost their homeland. They're not in their original country, perhaps. So he says, what's the crying over a horse? Okay, so that's a very insensitive kind of a reaction by Uncle Khosrove. Okay, that may be all right for you, a city dweller, to say, John Byro said, but what of my surrey? Now, what is a surrey? Surrey is a four-wheeled carriage, a light four-wheeled carriage, and Khosrove has run down the loss of a horse comparison with the homeland, basically to say, you know, homeland ही हमने खो दिया है, तुम एक घोड़े की चोरी के बारे में, loss के बारे में बात कर रहे हो. So he says, what good is a surrey without a horse? Agar carriage hai, yani ki carriage is there, but if it's of no use if there is no horse to kind of pull it forward, right? Pay no attention to it, my uncle Khosrove wrote. I walked 10 miles to get here, John Byro said. Ki because the carriage was not there, I had to walk 10 miles to come here. You have legs, my uncle Khosrove shouted. So Uncle Khosrove ke bare mein agar aapko character analysis hai, so please mention that he's an extremely insensitive kind of a character. He's not just crazy, he's also very insensitive about the manner in which he reacts to, say, John Byro. My left leg pains me, the farmer said. Pay no attention to it. That horse cost me $60. Yet another piece of information. Please underline it, use it in your answers. I spit on money. You know, crazy guy. You know, I spit on money. Ki main, you know, पैसे की कोई अहमियत नहीं है. I don't give a damn about money. I don't care for money. He got up and stalked out of the house, slamming the screen door. My mother explained, he has a gentle heart, she said. It is simply that he's homesick and such a large man. So she's trying to justify Uncle Khosrove's bad behavior. The farmer, that is John Byro, went away and I ran over to my cousin Morad's house. He was sitting under a peach tree trying to repair the hurt wing of a young robin which could not fly. Now, this is important. Why? It shows a sensitive nature to Morad. Unlike the insensitive nature of his uncle, Morad is trying to help an injured robin, which is a bird, fly. Okay, so it shows a sensitive and a gentle side to Morad. He was talking to the bird. Okay, so this paragraph is important. Please put a star with it. What is it? He said. The farmer John Byro, I said, he visited our house. He wants his house. You have had it for a month. You've had it a month. I want you to promise not to take it back until I learn to ride. Now, this is significant. He's not saying, Morad, tum वापस करो. He's saying, tum वापस तब तक नहीं करोगे जब तक मैं खुद घुड़सवारी ना सीख लूं. Till I learn how to ride, you will not return the horse back to John Byro. Now, that's significant. Okay. Till now, he was accusing or rather questioning Morad about whether he had stolen the horse. But now he says, don't return the horse till I also learn how to ride. So he says it will take a year to learn to ride. Okay, it will take a year to learn to ride. So Aram's, he changes his opinions depending on his personal desires, because now he's okay with keeping the horse even for a year. So he says, tumko ek saal lagega to learn to ride a horse. He says, ek saal rakh lenge. We will keep the horse for a year. My cousin Morad leaped to his feet. What? Are you inviting a member of the Garoghlanian family to steal? The horse must go back to its true owner. So Morad is now turning the tables. He says, are you saying that we should steal? No, no, no. The horse must go back. Okay. He's completely ignoring the fact that ek saal pehle bhai mere tumne chori ki thi. When I said in 6 months at the later. So they're very convenient shifting positions. Aram wants to keep the horse for 6 months, as 1 year. He says 6 months tak we can keep it. So they're okay with that. He threw the bird into the air. The bird tried hard, almost fell twice, but at last flew away high and straight. Early every morning for 2 weeks, my cousin Morad and I took the horse out of the barn of the deserted vineyard where we were hiding it and rode it. And every morning the horse, when it would be my turn to ride alone, leaped over the grapevines and small trees and threw me and ran away. Nevertheless, I hoped in time to learn to ride the way my cousin Morad rode. So he thinks that Morad rides well. He's not able to, but he hopes that in due course of time, he will be able to do so. So 2 hafte chale gaye. One morning on the way to Fedjavian's deserted vineyard, we ran into the farmer John Byro. Abhi unki mulaqat owner se hoti hai. Let me do the talking. My cousin Morad said, I have a way with farmers. So not just he has a way with horses. Way with matlab mujhe control karna malum hai, mujhe baatcheet karna malum hai, mujhe unke saath behave karna malum hai. Good morning, John Byro, my cousin Morad said to the farmer. The farmer studied the horse eagerly because his horse chala gaya hai. So obviously he's curious. Good morning, son of my friends, he said. What is the name of your horse? My heart, my cousin Morad said in Armenian. A lovely name, John Byro said, for a lovely horse. I could swear it is a horse that was stolen from me many weeks ago, because abhi 6 hafte ho gaye honge. 1 mahina aur abhi 2 hafte aur. May I look into his mouth? Because mouth, from the teeth, you can generally know about the age and probably even the identity of a horse, of an animal. Of course, Morad said. The farmer looked into the mouth of the horse. Tooth for tooth. He said, exactly Xerox copy hai. I would swear it is my horse if I did not know your parents. Agar mujhe tumhari family, tumhare parivar, tumhare parents ke bare mein nahi malum hota, I would have said this is definitely my horse. The fame of your family for honesty, this paragraph is important, is well known to me, yet the horse is the twin of my horse. A suspicious man would believe his eyes instead of his heart. Good day, my young friend. So he's not willing to blame them or accuse them of stealing because he knows the reputation of honesty of the family of the 2 boys. Good day, John Byro, my cousin Morad said. Early the next morning, following morning, we took the horse to John Byro. Abhi unko pakde gaye hain, so they don't want to take a chance. So they go and put it in John Byro's barn. The dogs followed us around without making a sound. The dogs, he's a little scared. Aram, he says, I have a way with dogs, Morad. Okay. So again, it shows a particular swag. Okay. My cousin Morad put his arms around the horse, pressed his nose into the. So he obviously loves the horse. There is an emotional connect. So look at the way he parts ways with the horse. He puts his arms around the horse, he hugs the horse, he pressed his nose against the horse's nose, patted it, and then we went away. So he's feeling bad about saying goodbye to the horse. That afternoon, John Byro came to our house in his surrey. Now the carriage has the horse. So he came in his surrey, 10 miles, and showed my mother the horse that had been stolen and returned. I do not know what to think. He said the horse is stronger than ever. Why? Because the boys, especially Morad, has taken good care of the horse. Better tempered too. It's better, well behaved. Okay. Because you see, earlier he would just be used as a carriage, almost like a bonded animal. But horse ka asli beauty kya hota hai? Of riding like that, of that sense of freedom and independence. The two boys brought out that aspect of the horse. So obviously the horse has also grown in strength and it's also better behaved. Also, it's receiving a lot of love from Morad in particular. I thank God. My uncle Khosrove, who was in the parlor, became irritated and shouted, "Quiet man, quiet. Your horse has been returned. Pay no attention to it." So he continues to behave in the same crazy manner. So in the notes, you have lots of question and answers. Please go and have a look at it. You will find it very useful. I hope the story is clear. It's a simple story. I've explained every word. Those word meanings and line meanings are also written in the notes. Please go through it. Any doubts, ask, but I don't think after reading all the questions, you will have any doubts with this story of the beautiful white horse. Thank you very much for watching. All the best. Tata. Bye-bye.